Its iron head is stained dark, its wooden handle worn smooth by a relentless grip. Red lights flash, painting the walls in strokes of panic. Figures dart between the prefabricated buildings, their movements clumsy and desperate as they slip and fall on the slick ice. And for a moment, it seems true. In the swirling snow beyond the light, a pair of red eyes glimmers, hungry and predatory. But then something else appears, something worse. A figure stands perfectly still at the edge of the light, just where the blizzard begins to reclaim the world. It's wearing a Santa Claus costume. The red fabric is tattered, the white trim stained with something dark. A string of small brass bells on the suit jingles softly in the wind. The sound is wrong. It's too quiet, too deliberate, like a predator announcing its presence not as a warning, but as a promise. More figures emerge from the storm, materializing from the whiteout like ghosts. First 3, then 5, then more. All of them are dressed in the same torn, blood-stained Santa suits. Their white beards are frozen solid, caked with ice and gore. Their faces are lost in the deep shadows of their hoods. Nothing visible but the void beneath. They don't walk like men. They glide over the snow with an unnatural speed. Their movements both fluid and jerky, like puppets on unseen strings. The remaining humans scatter, their scientific minds useless against this primal fear. One scientist, a geologist named Anya, scrambles behind a massive fuel container, her breath fogging in the frigid air. She presses herself against the cold metal, trying to silence the frantic beating of her heart. Heavy boots crunch in the snow nearby, the sound getting closer, slower. A Santa tilts its head, a grotesque, curious gesture, as if listening for the rhythm of her terror. Suddenly, there are more sounds, running footsteps, the scrape of metal on ice, a surge of panicked shouts. The storm howls, and the screams are swallowed whole. The quiet that follows is absolute. A small group of survivors makes a break for it, fleeing the relative shelter of the base for the open tundra. They run without a destination, driven only by the instinct to put distance between themselves and the slaughter. But the open ice offers no sanctuary. Behind them, 2 nightmares are closing in. From the shadows between the buildings, the vampires hunt, their movements swift and silent. And from the swirling snow, the Santa-clad killers pursue, their jingle bells a steady, terrifying percussion. The survivors are trapped, caught between the ancient hunger of the undead and the new, insane violence of men. A vampire, its fangs bared, leaps from a rooftop, aiming for the straggler at the back of the group. But halfway through its descent, it stops. It lands awkwardly on the ice, its head snapping up, sniffing the air. The scent has changed. The simple aroma of fear has been overpowered by something else, something heavier, colder. It's the smell of judgment. Headlights cut through the blizzard, 2 clean beams of light slicing through the chaos. A car, the same one from the frozen plain, approaches slowly, its engine a low, steady rumble. It stops, the driver's side door opens, and a man steps out. He is unremarkable, dressed in practical winter gear, but he moves with an unnerving calm. In his hand he holds the rusty axe. He walks directly into the fray, a solitary, silent figure moving between the panicked survivors, the hunting vampires, and the relentless Santas. One of the Santas, emboldened by the carnage, charges at him, its frozen beard swinging. The man doesn't break his stride. In one clean, fluid motion, the axe swings. It connects with a solid, wet thud. The Santa crumples into the snow, motionless. The man doesn't even look down. A moment later, a vampire lunges from his left, a blur of speed and claws. The axe rises again, not to strike, but as a warning. The vampire skids to a halt, hissing, and then retreats back into the darkness. For the first time all night, both monsters hesitate. The Santa killers regroup, their broken, shambling forms creating a loose circle around the man with the axe. They begin to laugh, a dry, rasping sound that scrapes the air. Their bells shake violently, a discordant, manic symphony of terror. One of them leans forward, its face still hidden in shadow, and whispers, the sound carrying unnaturally over the wind. Ho, ho, ho. The man finally speaks, his voice low and steady, devoid of fear. You hide behind masks, they hide behind darkness. You're all the same to the cold. And then he moves. He's not just fast, he's explosive. Snow erupts from his feet as he closes the distance. The clang of metal striking something solid rings out, followed by the heavy thud of a body falling. The survivors watch from a distance, huddled together, frozen not from the cold, but from the brutal efficiency they are witnessing. They hear only fragments of the fight. The man's steady breathing, the scrape of his boots on the ice, the rhythmic, deadly song of the axe. The Santas fall one by one. The jingle bells stop ringing, silenced forever. Back at the base, Anya, the geologist, has managed to barricade herself inside the communications room. The power is stable for now. Driven by a desperate need to understand, she bypasses security protocols on the main server, digging into locked, archived files. She finds a forgotten program, classified decades ago, Project Mistletoe. It was a penal experiment. The nation's worst criminals, the truly irredeemable, were not imprisoned. They were exiled here, to the Arctic North, left to contend with the horrors that lurked in the polar night. The file spoke of monsters released into the cold to prey on other monsters. One name appears over and over again. A prisoner. A man who survived a vampire feeding but didn't turn. A man whose blood was fundamentally changed. He was no longer entirely alive, but he was not undead. He was something else. Balanced. Forged in suffering. Out on the ice, the man stands alone amidst the fallen. The last of the vampires have fled. He looks at his axe, then at the endless night, and whispers to no one. Monsters feed on blood. I feed on mistakes. A weak, grey light finally begins to touch the horizon. The sun, a pale disk that offers no warmth, barely rises before beginning its descent again. The faint light is enough. The last of the vampires retreat into deep crevasses, seeking refuge from the cleansing rays. In the distance, polar bears return to their hunting grounds, their movements cautious but calm, sensing the shift in the Arctic food chain. The man walks to the center of the now quiet plain and drives his axe into the thick ice, leaving it standing like a grave marker. He gets back into his car. The engine starts, its sound loud in the newfound silence. As he drives away, the survivors watch him go, a terrifying realization dawning on them. The storm isn't over, it was cleansed. The man wasn't a savior, he was an executioner. The car's taillights disappear into the gloom, and the polar night continues, colder and quieter than before. Imagine a world painted entirely white. An Arctic storm rages, visibility is almost zero. It smelled something, blood. At that exact moment, a human scream pierces the howling wind, then cuts off abruptly. Inside, 6 scientists are cut off from the world, their connection to civilization tenuous at best. Local guides had warned them, their words laced with a seriousness the scientists dismissed as folklore. Don't go out at night, they'd said. It's not the bears you should fear. As the team struggles to comprehend what they're seeing, a massive polar bear appears at the edge of the settlement, far closer than one should ever dare to venture. Is drawn by the scent that still hangs in the frigid air, the scent of blood. That night, one of the scientists, unable to sleep, stares out a window into the swirling snow. Through the storm, he sees figures, human silhouettes, walking through the blizzard, but their movement is all wrong. They glide with a calm and unnatural quiet that defies the gale force winds. Suddenly, one of them is at the window. Its skin is as pale as the snow, its eyes a deep, dark red. It doesn't speak through the glass, but the scientist hears the voice in his head as clearly as a shout. We escaped the warm countries, it says. Here, the blood doesn't spoil. The vampires, arrogant in their new frozen kingdom, make a mistake. During another hunt, they are careless, killing one of their human prey out in the open. The wind whips the scent of fresh, warm blood across the ice. From the darkness, not one, but two enormous polar bears emerge, their white fur making them nearly invisible until they are terrifyingly close. But they don't attack the vampires. Instead, they charge past them, straight for the body, tearing it apart with a savage hunger. For the first time, the vampires hesitate, and then they retreat. These creatures, these kings of the ice, are not afraid of them, and they do not share their food. The remaining humans barricade themselves inside the research station. Trapped. Outside is a war zone. Vampires on one side, polar bears on the other, all of them cloaked in the endless polar night. The leader of the vampires approaches the compound, his voice carrying over the wind. "You have a choice," he calls out. "Join us and know an eternity in the cold, or become food for the bears." From inside, a scientist shouts back, her voice shaking but full of defiance. "You're wrong. The only thing that truly survives the cold isn't blood. It's willpower." The storm climaxes into a white hell. The station is the eye of a hurricane of violence. Bears and vampires clash in a brutal, silent dance of death. Blood, dark against the snow, spreads like ink stains. A bear sinks its massive teeth into a vampire, tearing it limb from limb. But the creature doesn't die. It writhes on the ice, a broken thing of horror, unable to perish in the dark. Then, after months of absence, a sliver of light appears on the horizon. The sun. Its weak golden rays wash over the battlefield, illuminating the faces of the vampires. One by one they scream, their skin blistering and turning to ash, scattered by the relentless wind. A lone polar bear, wounded but victorious, plods through the grey dust that was once a predator. The screen fades to black, and one final message appears: the cold does not forgive.